Welcome to the Joyride podcast, where we explore the path to becoming your most authentic self. I'm your host, Rebecca Joy, a self-development coach, human design expert, spiritual enthusiast, and motivational speaker who's absolutely obsessed with personal growth and transformation. On this podcast, I'll be sharing my own journey and insights to help you activate your power, amplify your confidence, and become the most magnetic version of yourself. Each episode delivers actionable strategies, powerful energy shifts, and spiritual wisdom that you can immediately apply to break through any limitations and create lasting change. Whether you're seeking deeper self-understanding, professional growth, or spiritual connection, the Joyride gives you the tools to transform your potential into your new abundant reality. Welcome to the Joyride. Hello, my beautiful listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in for yet another episode of the Joyride podcast. We are coming to a close on this year, but don't you worry, the podcast will still be continuing in 2026. But for the rest of the time that we have for this year in 2025, I want to make sure that I am giving you all the most valuable episodes that I can bring you, because so much is still happening throughout the rest of this year, which is 6 weeks. Today is the 17th, which is just crazy that 2026 is just around the corner. Thanksgiving is next week, and then it's Christmas and Hanukkah and all the things, and the new year, and then it's 2026. So my goal for the rest of this year is to is to give you the most jam-packed, value-filled episodes that I can. So this is what we're doing. For today's episode, I have so many topics that I want to cover, so many beautiful reflections and revelations that have come forward for me over the past few weeks, so many amazing conversations, so much advice that I've taken in from people that I love and trust, so much of my own clearing. And today I want to share with you the idea of why it's so important to let go, how to recalibrate yourself when you are in those stages of your life when you are massively letting go. This is the stage before you get to the next experience or the next phase of your life. And some really powerful tools that I have been using on myself that has really helped me get to the bottom of what is holding me back, and how do I actually let go of these beliefs, and how do I let go of these patterns that I'm holding on to in order for me to change my life and create something entirely new for myself, which is something that is very important to me, especially going into 2026. I've talked about this before, especially in not last week's episode, but the last episode that we had about the symbolism of this being a 9-year, 2026 being a 1-year, and truly just how important it is for us to be doing the hard shit right now, which is something that I think a lot of people are just really scared to do. But I want to always be able to share, my ways and how we can, approach the harder things in life, but do it with not only enthusiasm, but as a way for us to really focus and look forward on what's to come afterwards. Because I think sometimes we can get so stuck on, well, this is going to be so hard and I don't want to do it and I'm comfortable with where I'm at. But if you're not genuinely happy with what you have and with what you're experiencing, then we need to get you to a place where you're happy, living your life. Okay, sorry again with the text messages. You guys, am I the only one that puts my computer and stuff on Do Not Disturb and then it doesn't work? I am very confused, so let me make sure that is all good before we continue on in this episode. You would think that I'm an amateur at this podcasting thing, but nope, I've been doing this for quite some time now, and clearly I just needed to get my shit together. Okay, before we jump into today's episode, I want to mention that I have this new offering for the end of the year, and I only have a few spots left. It's called Release. What Release is 3 coaching sessions with me that are 75 minutes each. And the point of this mini coaching container is to help you clear, to help you detox, to help you get unstuck, to help you get rid of the old stories, the old patterns, the old identities, the old fears, the old everything, right? Anything and everything, ranging from people in your life to habits that you're still engaging in, to jobs, to things that you are just still clinging on to, that and that you can feel. These things aren't serving me anymore, and I know that they're not meant to be a part of my future story, but for some reason I just can't get rid of them in my life. Trust me, been there, done that, like so many times, and I think we're always working towards what is it that I'm still holding on to that is genuinely not serving me in my life. And we have to sit with ourselves, and we have to get really brutally honest with ourselves. But there's no reason for you to do this alone, because maybe the things that you've been trying to do to clear the stuff out of your life is simply not working. That is where I come in. And I was in therapy this morning. This was my first therapy session ever. And I know you may be thinking like, you, Rebecca, like you've never done therapy before? Like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. I know, right? It's because I have done therapy on myself for literally my entire life. I've been my own therapist. I've been my own life coach. I've been like everything and anything for myself. But I've also worked with a lot of different types of healing practices. Somatic, EFT, all of my like astrology and human design readers and different coaches. I've worked with a ton of different people. I've just never actually been to therapy. So I've been thinking about it for the past few months. And my best friend, when I visited her in New York, has just been like raving to me about her therapist. And I was like, why aren't I in therapy? Like, coming from a bitch who literally, you guys, and this is going to come off as very vain, but we all know this about me by now. My favorite thing in the world is to talk about myself and talk about my life and my experiences. There is no better gift to me in the world than having the time and space to talk about myself and what I've been through, and ideally, how can it help someone else? So in my session today, I came into it thinking, like I'm so excited to be here because I have really big dreams and really big goals for myself next year. Not just next year, but like I'm thinking long term for years to come and how I'm shifting and changing in my life and who I am and what I want. So I want to change these things about my life. And when I was in this session, one of the first things she said as I'm telling her my life story, she's like, how do you feel, Rebecca? And I'm like, girl, how do I feel? Let me tell you. It was so nice to talk about myself for an hour. Yes. But in doing so, I sat there and I was like, this is what I've been wanting. And why I'm a coach myself, and why I think it's so important to be working pretty much at all times if you're constantly someone who wants more, wants to evolve, wants to transform, which is kind of I have fallen under this trap before of like, I have to change myself. I have to fix something. I have to do something different in order to get something that I want, right? Like, yes, I've been there. I've been in that trap before. But I think for anyone in their life who has really big goals and really big dreams and is a go-getter and wants to live truly the most authentic, fulfilling, rich life, okay? You need to be working with someone because you need to have someone on your team, okay? And this is not a partner. This is not a best friend. This is not a parent who loves and supports you in every little thing that you do, because I have a lot of that in my life. I have incredible, loving, and supportive parents who have shown up for me, especially this year, in ways that I am beyond grateful for, that I will never be able to repay them for. I am so incredibly grateful for them, for my friends. I have the best fucking friends ever. I have incredible teachers and guides in my life, but I have been really missing and really been needing someone in my corner who's on my fucking team, that is there with me and says, Rebecca, this is where you want to go. We can get you there. You can do this, but doing it on a consistent basis. And the difference here is they don't have any other agenda. Their agenda is not to be my supporter and be my parent. It's not to be my best friend, but also be my motivator. You know what I'm saying? Like, their one job is to be on my team and to help me get to where I want to go. And so that really very powerfully came forward for me this morning in my therapy session. And it reminded me of why one, I became a coach, but two, why I created this container release for the end of the year. If you were listening to this podcast episode right now, you probably have been a follower of mine for a long time, have found out about me through someone. I am really fucking passionate about helping people remember who the fuck they are and what they can do in their life. I'm really, really good at helping spot people's potential and believing in people's potential. It's almost to the point where I've been in quite a few situations, especially in my 20s, with men especially, but also with women, where they didn't even really see their potential. And I was like, holy shit, you have so much potential. Like, look at what you can do. And so the point of this container, the point of release, to have these 3 sessions is to really go hard so that we can sit together, like get into the mud and get into like truly like, what are your fears? What are you afraid of letting go? What is keeping you stuck and what is holding you back from quitting this job and going for the job of your dreams, or moving out of, suburbia so that you can move to your dream city that could literally change your life. Like, I know that you can get there, but I also know that it's really, really, really hard to do on your own. Now that I'm here in North Carolina living with my parents, I am someone who really relies on the energy all around me. That's why I felt so lit up when I was in New York, because you can literally just like feel the energy of people who are intrinsically motivated, who have really big goals and have really big dreams, who are going after it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be immersed in hustle culture, because like, I am not a hustler. I've never been a hustler. I never want to be a hustler. Yes, I work hard. Yes, I'm very devoted to who I am in my life. Yes, I'm very passionate, and yes, I'm very intense about the things that I love, but I'm not your, like typical hustler. Like, I don't want to work 14-hour days in order for me to get to where I want to go. I want to put my energy where it wants to go, because it sees the potential and it knows that I can create something incredible, and it knows that I can be the woman that I so admire. You know what I'm saying? So that is release. I have a few spots left, but I want to say this. Jump on it if you are in any way like, this sounds really enticing and this sounds like something that I need. It's $555. That may sound like a lot to you. That may sound like, oh, that's nothing. Like, when I think about this time of year and spending your money on gifts for people and, going out and seeing old friends and drinking in your groceries, like, sit with yourself. And even for like a week, I do this personally. Every week I write out exactly what I'm spending my money on. It's been a really, really good like grounding and humbling practice for me over the past few months. So I get to see like, okay, where did I spend my money? Why did I spend my money on that? What was the feeling that came forward when I decided to hit purchase on that? Is it something that I genuinely need? Is it something that I think I need? Is it something that I think that I need to do for someone? So think about that. And when you're making an investment like this, I personally always have to ask myself the question of, would I spend my money on this? 100 million bajillion % fuck yes, I would spend $555 to work with a coach who could help me unblock so much of my shit in order for me to get to the next phase of my life where I want to go. I have spent almost that much on one session with someone. Like, I 100% believe in investing in yourself, especially with the right person. And I would easily spend this amount of money on one of my coaches if they came up with an offer like this. So I wanted to mention that because I know that money can be a very taboo topic for a lot of people. And you may be in a position where you're saving, or you're like, you know what, like, I have a therapist, I'm good. And if you are good, that's amazing. And if you genuinely feel like I'm making so much progress in my life, then hell fucking yeah. Like, I think you have what you need. But if you are someone that's listening to this and you're like, I really do think that I could benefit from this, pull the trigger. Let's get to work, because I don't want you to waste any time you can start today. You can start, not actually like start, working with me today, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to changing anything in your life, it doesn't necessarily have to be like on January 1st or, when the spring equinox is here. Like, you get to tap into your own energy. But for me, I'm really feeling like, okay, cool. We have like 6 weeks left for me to do the deep work and clear out some shit in order for me to start the new year and for me to feel like, fuck yeah, I'm making progress. The stuff that used to bother me, the stuff that used to hold me back does not hold me back anymore. So I will leave all the information about release down below. If you are interested, jump on it, because I know that all of these spots that are left, I have 4 spots left. They will be taken by the end of the month. And I think that if anything, we need a full month for us to have those 3 sessions, for us to really lock the fuck in, to get into the trenches, pull out the weeds, in order for us to plant some new seeds so that when 2026 comes around, you are ready to go. So that is release. But on that note, we're going to be talking today about letting go. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot. What areas of my life do I feel like I have let go? How have I coped with that? How have I recalibrated with that? What are some areas of my life where I personally feel like I'm still holding on to things, and what fears are coming up because of that letting go? A lot of this, I will say, is inspired by one of my favorite people, Sean. She's been on the podcast multiple times. She's a friend of mine, a coach of mine. I just think that she is so wise and so intuitive. And I was listening to her latest podcast episode this weekend when I was getting ready to go out with a new friend here, and it was all about letting go. And as I was listening to it, things were popping up for me, like thoughts that I've been feeling about my Austin journey and where I want to go to next. So I have explained, and I've talked about on here, that I feel a very strong pull to South Florida, especially Miami. I took a trip earlier this summer to the Fort Lauderdale area. I was feeling pulled there, but I also have always had a very strong pull to Miami. And when I was there this summer, I was in major deconstruction mode of my life. I was at a very, very low point, and it just felt very heavy. And I knew that the land and the place itself, I love. And energetically, I feel really, really good there. But given this phase of my life, it was like overshadowing all of the good that this place usually brings me. So now being here in North Carolina for the past few months, I didn't necessarily really need to do a lot of like detaching from Austin, because that has been naturally happening throughout the span of this year, which I'm so grateful for. I have definitely hit these kind of like points throughout my journey this year where, I get sad. I get sad because I think about how much I did in Austin. I was there for 6 years, how much I put myself out there, how fearless I was, how much of a risk taker I was, like every single one of my best friends, like pretty much like I went up to them, I introduced myself to them. Like it's cool when you're able to look back on these chapters of your life. But I think for a little bit, I was sitting in this energy of, thinking about where I'm going next. And I'll be completely blunt and completely honest. I've sat in this energy for a little bit of like, I think I have some PTSD. And I think because I have been in this healing for the past few months, a true nervous system reset, which I know can be like, oh my God, I hate when people use that lingo. But listen, let's call it what it is. It's a fucking nervous system reset. Like I've been healing. I haven't had a lot of like external distractions and stimulation, which has been good for me, but I've also been missing it in a lot of ways because I miss having a community. I miss being around people who are like-minded. I miss being around people who are motivated and who are, creating new things for themselves and for their lives. So what's been coming up for me lately is almost these pings of like, I'm not going to move back to Austin. That's like so not in the cards for me, and I have no desire to, but almost kind of overshadowing some of the phases of my life and thinking like, oh, it was so good. Like, will I ever get this type of community back? Will I ever have these types of friends again? Will I ever, and I am able to articulate this now because of Sean's episode. She was explaining that that's what the ego does. The ego will tell you it's never going to be this good again. You're never going to have what you have again. For me, I'm never going to have, this community again, and I'm never going to have these types of friends again. And I know that that's 100% not true. Like, especially where I want to go next, it is so very clear to me that I need to be surrounded by, one, a city that has this pulse, that has this attraction and this magnetic energy. Because let me tell you, where I am at, North Carolina, there is no pulse. There is no energy. There's beauty. I'm surrounded by gorgeous trees and nature and gorgeous homes, and it's very safe here. And I have such deep levels of gratitude and appreciation, but it's not enough for me. And I needed to be here in order to recognize that all of this is great. And this is stuff that I was praying for when I was really, really in some very low moments over the past year, because this is what I was needing. My nervous system was really needing, to be in a beautiful home and to not feel this pressure of I have to pay for every single thing and I have to make every single meal. And, I want to walk out of my house and go for a walk and feel safe and be around immersed in nature. And just, I needed the stuff that I was praying for that I now have. But now that I'm here, I recognize that for some people that is enough. But for me, it's not enough, and that's okay. So because I now have those feelings, and with my ego wanting to tell me, oh, well, everything was great in Austin because you had the community and you had the friends and you had, all of the workouts at your fingertips. Yes, I did. In Austin, I got to see myself blossom. I got to see myself become this, not even just the version of myself, become versions of myself that truly I am so incredibly proud of. But I still was experiencing a lot of lack in a lot of areas of my life. And that's okay. And I now recognize that. So I'm not going to let my ego say, oh, well, Austin is the only place where you're going to be able to feel this type of way. Because no, that just is not true. It's completely false. And I'm wise enough to know now because I have so much more wisdom. I have gone through so many chapters of trial and error. I have gone through so many failures where I know that I need to be surrounded by a community that is not only interested in spirituality and personal development, but, I'm also interested in people who are connected to their roots and connected to faith and culture and all of these things that I didn't necessarily recognize when I was caught up in my Austin life of, being in the gym all the time and growing my business and marketing myself. And you know what I'm saying? So I recognized this week when that stuff was coming up for me to let it come up, because maybe there was a part of me that, still kind of wasn't allowing myself to let go of Austin. I mean, it really only has been 3 months. And the past few months before I moved here, when I was still in Austin, it was in the summer and I was like, fuck this place, I'm ready to move. And I was on trips. And so, I'm letting myself be in this energy of for sure, I need to honor that Austin was such a magical and mystical place for me, and there was so much good, but I also was lacking a lot of things. And it's unfair of me to say, well, I'm just too scared to move on because what if that was the best that I ever had? And I will say that there have been many chapters of my life, because I move on so quickly, because I have a Gemini moon, because I love variety, because I'm a manifesting generator. The way that I'm built, I just move on from one thing to the next very quickly. It's always been like that. That's why I've had a million different jobs. That's why I've explored so many different passions and hobbies. But now, being in my 30s, I'm a 6'2" in human design as well. I have moved out of that 3 phase, which is all about trial and error. If you are familiar with the 3 archetype of your profile in human design, I'm now moving into a much slower season of my life where I'm able to recognize what serves me and what doesn't serve me. And you know what doesn't serve me? And what I'm fully ready to let go of this year is I've had this thought in my head with a lot of things of, I hit this level, whether it's, professionally or with my body. I hit this level and my mind kind of reverts to like, well, this is the best it's ever going to get. And that just isn't fair. I'm fully ready to let that go. It's just not fair of my mind to tell me like, after 4 months, this is the most money that you're ever going to make, or this is the best your body's ever going to look. It's like, what do you mean? Like, no, I don't want to think that way. I don't want to act that way. That's not fair of my mind to think that way. So it's important for us to let these thoughts come to the surface, but also recognize that our ego is always going to be there. And I don't think it's right of us to want to override the ego. The ego is meant to be there. The ego, I think, is meant to put your ass in check a lot of the times. The ego is meant to say like, look at me, pay attention to me. But your conscience, and your spirit and your soul is like, okay, I see you and I feel you and I recognize you and I understand that you have a hard time maybe letting go of who you became in Austin, because damn, bitch, I'm really proud of you. You did some damn shit in Austin that is really fucking cool. Amazing. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to, hold those memories in my heart. But at the same time, you are allowed to become something different now. And that doesn't mean that you have to totally scratch that chapter. And that doesn't mean that that's the best that you're ever going to get, because that just is false. We have to remember that in letting go, we're choosing to let go because the thing doesn't serve us anymore. I believe that there's no forcing when it comes to letting go. Like, even if you have to force yourself to not talk to this person anymore, or you have to force yourself to not eat certain foods because you know that they are impacting your mental and your physical health, or you have to force yourself not to do something. We all have free will. Truly, we do. Sometimes we forget that we have free will. We don't have to do anything that we don't want to do. And if we are consciously choosing to let go of something, that means that thing is no longer serving you anymore. That thing is no longer making you happy. That thing is no longer fulfilling you. That thing is no longer truly adding something good to you and your life. And that's really, really important for us to remember. Sean mentioned this in her episode, and she was like, if you are letting go of something, that means that there is something better waiting out there for you. And you wouldn't make that decision to let it go if you don't have that space for that new thing to come in. And I know that we've heard that before, of course, but the way that she said it just was so simple. It was like, well, of course you're letting go, because if it was so good that you still wanted it and needed it in your life, you wouldn't have to let it go. And that really, really resonated with me. Like, I love Austin. I will always, always, always have so much love in my heart for Austin. And funny enough, this girl that has recently become a friend of mine, we met through our moms. We went to dinner on Tuesday with our moms, and then we did a little like happy hour ourselves on Saturday. This girl truly was a gift from God. Like, she is my first real friend that I've made here. And it's unfortunate for me that she's moving in like literally 2 weeks. So this is our last week to like hang out and get to know each other. But she is actually moving to Austin. And the more that she talks about it and I can like see the excitement on her face, I'm just like, I am so excited for you, because Austin truly has this power of pulling people in. I think it's just something with the energy and the people and the land. You go to Austin to discover yourself. And I know that it's similar for big cities, especially like LA and New York, like, but I think with those cities, because they are so massive, like it kind of is a sink or swim situation. With Austin, yes, it's a metropolitan city. Yes, like you need money to live in a city, but I think because there's this element of like, it's homey, but it's also a city, like it never felt overwhelming for me. So being able to meet her, spend time with her, and just to express my love and my gratitude and my appreciation for Austin and all that it did for me, and to be able to sincerely say to her, like, this city is going to change you and going to change your life. It has really helped me fully let go of these like thoughts rooted in ego that have been circulating my mind of like, is it ever going to get better? And are you ever going to like have another magical chapter again? Because I know what's waiting for me is going to be so much better, because I wouldn't have had to let go of something if it was still serving me. And I think we need to pause, not like actually pause this episode, but like pause in our lives, as we are closing out a year. And this is a time naturally when we go home, we're surrounded by our families, we get super fucking triggered by our parents. Like, I love the quote, or I don't know if it's a quote, but it's a meme or something that's like, you think you're healed? Like, wait until you go home for the holidays and are surrounded by your family for a week. Like, no, let's be fucking for real. Like, living with my parents for the past few months after living alone for, I don't know, like 5 years or something has been healing. But it's also been very triggering. And I know for damn sure I'm going to get triggered next week when I'm surrounded by my family for a week and we're all staying in one house. But I have the tools. I have the frameworks to help me when those times come up. But it's so important to give yourself the space right now to allow those thoughts that are holding you back to come up to the surface, for you to sit with them and to say, you know what, maybe I haven't fully let go of this job, because you know what, it's supplying me with some type of financial security, which is great, and some type of stability, but do I want to hold on to it for longer? What is it actually giving to me? How is it actually serving me besides giving me a steady paycheck every 2 weeks? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we are continuing to hold on to something when really we should have let go of that thing a long time ago. I have definitely learned that, especially in my 20s. There are things that I let go of so damn fast that my body was like, fuck no, bitch, we gotta get out of here. Like, I once had this job, you guys, working at The Bomb Cosmetics. If you remember them, I don't even know if they're still around. It was in Alameda, California. I was so hyped and so stoked. I manifested this position. I was taking over for this woman that was going on her maternity leave. You guys, this woman was a CUNT. She sucked. Like, truly one of the worst human beings that I've ever met in my life. And I was there from a Wednesday to Friday. That is how much I could take. Being in the space, being in the energy, being in the office, hearing her conversations with the CEO, I was like, I don't know what in the fuck is in the water here, but why does everyone suck? And like, it almost has been another thing that I'm realizing is sometimes it's hard for me to let go of the fact that, how do I phrase this? When I go for something like this job, okay, it was all about trial and error. It was all about like, I wanted this thing and I got it. And it was actually quite shocking how I ended up in this position, because I literally had no experience, but I have always been able to finesse my way to getting certain like job positions and career positions, simply because I'm me and I'm like really cool and amazing. Yes, but also it is my energy and I have this charm about me and I know that about myself, but I also know that if I show up for something, I'm going to do a great job and I'm going to get shit done. Like, and I think that's great to notice within myself. But on paper, like, I definitely was not qualified for this job. And this woman, I think, knew it, who was taking over. But the CEO was like, I just like put her under my spell and I got the job. So like, kudos, and like claps for me. But being there, it just was so terrible, like the whole experience. So I've gone through many experiences in my life where like things didn't work out. And even just recently, like I had this appointment and I was like, intuitively, I felt like it was the right thing. And then afterwards I was like, wait, I would like never do this again. And so it's been hard for me being a perfectionist and being someone who just always wants to get things right, because I think it boils down to like, I just am very intentional with what I do. And I want things to work. Like, who doesn't? I don't want to spend my time over and over and over and over and over again trying shit out and not having it work. And that has given me a lot of PTSD truly, but also it's giving me so much wisdom to know like, okay, yes, that might have been the case in the past where like I had to try out a lot of things. Again, going back to that 3 energy archetype, it's all about trial and error, not getting so attached to the outcome. But what has been coming up for me, and I know it's come up because I have been needing to let this go for so long, is almost like not trusting in my intuition and almost putting my intuition and a trial and error experience in the same category. So I want to kind of break that down for you. Like there's a difference between intuitively being pulled somewhere, but we can't attach ourselves to this idea of like, okay, because my intuition told me to take this job or date this person or go here and it didn't work out, like, fuck me, like I can't trust myself, I don't make the right decisions. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think I've been so aware of it lately and how I do that for myself. And it's been interesting to like connect the dots and kind of go backwards and see like how hard I've been on myself, because I have done a lot of things and a lot of those things haven't worked out. And so my ego has been telling me, well, like maybe you can't trust yourself. Like maybe your intuition is just fucking wrong and like it's you, bitch. Like, and I've had to realize like, no, that's not the case. Like yes, I may have those thoughts, but that's my ego speaking. But I also have so much proof that goes entirely against that. And guess what? I am allowed to try things. I am allowed to have my trial and error experiences. And I am allowed to walk through life and have a lot of things not work. Like there's this one quote that came up on my... Do you guys have Momentum? Momentum it's an extension on Google Chrome, and you basically get these like hot fire quotes every single day. And one of the quotes was something about like the people who are the most successful are the ones that like keep going after failure or something. To me, it was all about like, okay, I will be a success in my life if I can move past the failures and not lose my confidence and not lose my hope, basically. And I've just been seeing that come forward very, very clearly for me in my life, and how I get down on myself a lot of times because things haven't worked out, and me telling myself these narratives and these stories of like, it's you can't trust yourself because you decided to try out this new thing and it wasn't the thing on the first try. That means that you're wrong. That means that you don't know where you're going. That means that you can't make right decisions. And it's been interesting because I don't think I've fully allowed myself to really go there, but that's been like a lot of underlying energy. And especially now that I'm in this like bridge phase of my life where I do have a plan to move to South Florida, and I do want to move to Miami, and I do want to move forward from where I'm at right now. I have literally no desire to stay here for longer than I need to be here, but I also know that for the time being, while I am here, I need to make changes in my life in order to set myself up so that I do not put myself in similar positions for the, from the past where I'm just like, oh, it's gonna like all work out and everything's gonna be fine, because that's not fair to myself. And in recognizing that, I'm able to say like, I can be afraid and I can be scared, but I can also reflect and go back to my past and say like, hey, look at how you were so fearless, and look at how when you moved to Austin, you didn't have this crazy plan. You had a plan, but that plan changed pretty damn quickly and you still made it work. But this time around, you don't need to fight so hard. You won't have to try as many things. You won't need to be in survival mode because you're so wise now and you have so much life experience, and life will always be lifing, and life will always give you more life experience to learn from. And, I'm allowed to admit that it kind of scares me because, yeah, I'm able to say that maybe I do have a little PTSD from the past, but I'm also willing, ready, and able to let that go. But how do I now let that go? How do I now recognize when it's time to let go? We recognize that it's time to let go when, again, like what I was saying a little bit earlier, we recognize that this thing is just like not for us anymore, and it's not serving us. It's not bringing you happiness. It's not bringing you joy. It's not bringing you fulfillment. If you just have that feeling and that knowing, that this thing in your life needs to go, then trust that it needs to let go. It's like cleaning out your closet. It's literally doing any type of like detoxing, cleansing. When you get rid of something, you're making space for something new. And you can't just hoard and hoard and hoard and hoard and hoard, because then you don't have space for something new to come into your life. One of the basic principles that I always tell my generators is you have to walk through life. You have to recognize that on your plate, what is on your plate? What are you giving your time to? What are you giving your attention and your money towards? Okay? Because if you keep on just piling shit on, basically you're signaling to the universe, look, I don't have any more space and I don't have any more room in my life for you to bring me something new. So we have to take inventory and we have to take stock of the things that are in our life. We have to take inventory of what is taking up our time and our energy. Because if we intuitively feel like something needs to be let go of, then also it's not even just intuitively, like literal facts here. We know that if we let something go, something new is going to come in. So if you have that, again, knowing and feeling, or whatever signals you are getting in your life that something needs to be let go of, you have to learn how to trust in that, because what comes in doing that is over time, you will learn to trust yourself more and letting go. This has been such an interesting and intricate process for me to navigate through, especially in my 20s. There were some things I was like, fuck yeah, I can let that go. Like, I don't need that. And other things, maybe in areas of my life where like I needed to make more money to like pay my rent or do this or do that, I would cling on to things and I would stay in things longer than I needed to, because I didn't have that foundational trust of, if I let this thing go, something else is going to come in. That will only come with practice, but I want to share with you this practice that I've been using to help you find the proof that already exists in your life. Because when we're in those recalibration stages where like we've left something and now we're in the healing phase, or now we're in the softer stage where like maybe we're not working as hard, or, things just look a lot different in our life and we're not into the next stage or next phase of our life where we plan on going, how do we deal with that? I actually just posted a Substack post yesterday that talked about all of my rituals and practices and habits that really keep me so fucking grounded, that help me remember who the fuck I am and help me remember my power, but also help keep me grounded and steady and stable when so much of my life is like moving and there's so much uncertainty in my life. So I will link that Substack post down below, because you definitely should go take it out and give it a read. And these are all things that are easily accessible. There's nothing crazy on this list, truly. Like, I am all about, the spiritual stuff, but also like making it very practical in your life, because what is the point about sharing all these concepts and principles if you can't actually integrate them and embody them in your life? So go check that out down below. But I think what is so important in this letting go process is to realize that you really do have the proof that you need. And I think sometimes when it comes to manifesting and visualizing and creating something new in your life, we can get really stuck on, well, like, just imagine yourself of like being that person. They already have this in your highest version. I think it's almost better for us to kind of like not even set the bar really, really low, but go back to our past and point out the times in our life where like you can easily prove to yourself like, fuck yeah, I can not only do that again, but I can do it better because I've been through it before. I've had that life experience and I've already been able to prove to myself that this thing is possible. So this is the framework that I have been working with myself, that I'm going to start working on with clients who sign up for release, and also with current like coaching clients of mine who are like already in these containers, because it's been such a helpful practice for me to not only like name what I'm clinging on to and name the fears in my life, but also how can I recognize why I'm clinging on to it and why it's a fear of mine. But then how can I shift that perspective to noticing where have I already conquered this in the past and where have I already seen the proof that this works in the past? So this is, I call it like my 5-step unblocking process. Only 5 steps because like, why do we need something that's more than 5 steps? Like, we don't need a 10-step thing here. No, let's make it simple. Let's make it practical. Let's make it something that you can implement in your life literally today. Like, I recommend you listening to this episode and then doing this practice either the same day that you listen to the episode, so it's fresh in your mind, or you do it the next day. Okay, so here are the 5 steps. The first is naming what is the fear or what is the thing that you are scared to let go of. I think it can go either way. For me, I did like, what is the fear? The second step is, how is it showing up for you in your life currently? And then I'm going to walk through the steps and like give you some examples. The third step is evidence and proof that goes against this fear or goes against the thing that you're, clinging on to or scared of letting go. The fourth step is, how can I apply the same principles? As in, how can I apply the same principles that got me that proof, that got me that thing? And then the fifth step is, what is your anticipated outcome? This is so powerful. Notice here that I didn't put like, because we already named the fear, right? Like the first step was like, what is the fear? What are we scared to let go of? Like, I think it's important to go from like rock bottom to the top so that we can go in the past and like excavate. I don't think that it's helpful for us to we want to focus our intention on where we want to go, of course, but I was talking about this with my therapist this morning. You can't just like only focus on like, okay, cool. Like I want to like be the girl that's making $50,000 a month and is like, has this amazing husband and lives in this gorgeous house. Like that's great. And that's totally on my vision board, 100 million %. But like, we also have to unblock the shit that is stopping us from getting that, because you can't just be all in like la la dreamland without doing the real work that's going to get you there. Something that I forgot to mention that I'm also going to start to do, like literally tonight, is TBM. To Be Magnetic is so life-changing, and I've been doing a few of their DIs here and there. I will put a link down below for To Be Magnetic. Such an incredible meditation practice, but it's like meditation plus massive unblocking. Every time I've done a TBM meditation, I have literally cried so hard. I've been able to unblock so much shit. And I started doing it after I got back from New York because I saw that they were doing like a live speaking thing in New York when I was there. And it reminded me like, oh my gosh, like I've been feeling these pings to want to get back into a consistent meditation unblocking like practice. Why I like TBM so much, and I also do something called activations, which is by Mimi Bouchard. That one's a little bit different because that's more like activations, I think, is more like positive. It gets me in my feels. It really helps me turn on the visual element in my brain. But with TBM, I'm allowed to go so deep. Like it's very Scorpio energy to me. We're like, don't do this if you're afraid of getting into your own shit. But in saying that, I want to recommend this to you because I do not think that anyone can get to where you want to go if you aren't willing to go into the darkness. But I don't want to say that to scare you. I just think that it's so needed and it's so necessary. I also want to recommend for you all to go listen to Melissa Wood Tepperberg's latest podcast episode on her podcast platform, which is called Move with Heart. This is also what inspired me to like do TBM consistently and like do their course, because she had Lacey Phillips, who's the founder of TBM, on, and just her talking about it made so much sense to me. She was saying, I've been able to manifest such incredible things in my life, but like the real life-changing stuff, like all of the tips and tricks and tools and the stuff that you've heard from everyone out in the manifestation world, just like, be her now and this and that, and just like almost like kind of on the scale of like positive toxicity a little bit. She was like, that didn't work for me. And so you have to go like You have to go deep. You have to do the unblocking. A lot of this has to do with like inner child stuff. And that's kind of what's been inspiring me for coming up with this own practice of mine, which let me tell you, last night I just like sat down to journal and I was gonna almost like look up someone else's kind of like way of doing this. And then I was like, wait a damn second. Like, I'm a life coach. I believe in myself. I know that I'm totally capable of creating my own method because I'm a man gen. That's what we do. Like, let me just create my own method. So that's how I came up with these 5 steps. So I know that was kind of like all over the place, but I totally forgot to mention TBM. And I think that's such an important piece to all of this and has really helped me inspire this new practice that I've been using on myself. So now I want to give you an example so that you can apply it to your own life, because I truly think in us talking about, letting go, what are you clinging on to, releasing these old stories and patterns and identities in your life, this is going to help you truly create the space in your life for what you want and for what is new to be ushered in with. Not just like, oh my God, like I hope it's going to come in. Like that this is going to come in for you. So here is an example. Let's say like, what is the fear? This used to be a fear of mine, genuinely, like the fear of being alone. Okay, so like the fear of not having a partner, the fear of like, maybe for some people it's never being lovable. For me, it used to be like, I just have this fear that I'm never going to find my person, even though I want it more than anything in my life. And, that fear is very strong. Okay, so that's number 1. What is the fear? 2, how is that showing up in my life? So for me, it showed up in my life. I was not doing any type of dating. I was like, I'm not doing the apps. I'm so much better than them, blah, blah, blah. I have no desire to do them. I was throwing myself into more personal development work, saying like, oh, I'm just choosing to focus on my business. I was contradicting myself because at the root of it, I was like really longing and really desiring a partner, but I was also so fearful and so scared that I wasn't going to have a partner, and I was not like, there was no action in my life. There was no space in my life to attract that, to call that in. So that's the second step here. Like, how was that showing up for me in my life? I was truly not putting any energy or focus into that. Now 3, evidence or proof that goes against it. So easily my proof and evidence here will be like, oh, I've dated before. I've, been in relationships before. I've had people love me before, and I didn't have to be perfect. Also, something that came up for me when I was thinking about this was like, I have gone through so many phases in my life where I was so fixated on like, oh, if my acne scars were gone, or if I didn't, look this way, or if I didn't have this about myself, or, just really focusing on the things that I still needed to change, that I still needed to heal, that I still needed to fix. And it was rooted in like, oh, this person's like, I'm not going to attract the partner of my dreams if I'm not perfect. So the evidence and the proof that goes against that is I have easily attracted like some fine ass men who are like sexy as hell. Even when I was going through the skin problems and this and that, I've attracted like, really amazing men. Clearly they didn't stick around because they were not for me, and there were a lot of lessons that I needed to learn. But like the proof and the evidence there is like, I literally have been in relationships before. I have dated men before. I have loved before. I have done this stuff before. And I also want to include another very important part here for this step 3, the evidence and the proof that goes against it. This doesn't even necessarily need to be around the same topic necessarily. Like I was writing out just like a different example for myself about like not being able to get myself to Miami. And for this step 3, my example for that was not having anything to do with like the topic at hand. How do I make this make sense? Like, okay, my thoughts got like really, really jumbled there. I'm going to give you a different example. For me, I was thinking about an example of like, I have been kind of playing around with my idea of like effort and like how I show effort in certain areas of my life and how it's so much harder for me to give effort in other areas of my life. So when I was thinking about like, oh, this like fear of like not being able to make it work, to like move to Miami and I don't want to put myself in a survival mode again and all these things, right? Okay, I was thinking about what is the proof that goes against this, that like this has worked before. I think about all the effort that I put every single day into the gym. Like, whether I want to be there or not, I show up, I do a workout. Maybe it's an incredible workout. Maybe it's like a half-ass workout because it's energetically all that I can give, but I show up. And I don't post on social media every single day that I show up to the gym. I have gone through phases where I have done that, but I'm in a phase right now where like I just don't feel called to do that. And I'll, post here and there because it's such an integral part of my life. But it's more so focusing on like the effort that I'm showing myself and how I'm showing up for myself every day. So that is evidence for me of like, okay, cool. I put in so much effort into this area of my life. I don't necessarily need to show the world all of the effort that I'm putting in to make this move happen. I just need to show it for myself. So that is step 3. Step 4 is, how can I apply these same principles in my life? Okay. So let's go back to the example of the fear of being alone, of not having the partner, of not having like my soulmate, the person of my dreams. Okay. How can I apply these principles to my life? So let's think about like real life tangible things that I can do. Okay. If I want to attract a partner, one, for me, I need to recognize that, okay, sure, there are things that are not perfect about myself right now that are a work in progress. Okay. I'm not going to let that stop me from putting myself out there, whether that be, going to events to meet people, putting myself on a Hinge, like truly making an effort to create the space in my life for that person to come into my life. And that's probably not going to happen on like the first date that I go on. It doesn't necessarily need to be a numbers game where you go on like 30 dates and then you find the person, which for some people that's their story. I don't see that being mine necessarily. But again, we want to focus on like, okay, what principles can we literally start to apply in our life to change this, to make it happen? Because this is such an important piece here. I have done personally so much work on like, okay, I recognize the fear. I recognize what's holding me back. I have this awareness about it. But there has to be this element of action, which so many people are missing in the whole co-creation, manifesting, making your goals actually happen in life. You have to do something. You have to act. You have to move. You have to like literally put in effort somewhere, and it can't just come from the awareness. So that 4th step is thinking about the principles of what you need to do. Maybe it's like, okay, I need to remind myself that I take risks because I am someone who loves to take risks, and I am fearless, and not be so like, oh my God, if this doesn't work on the first try, then I'm never going to get it, or this is never going to happen for me. It's like, no, let's have fun with it. Let's show up. Let's put an effort. Let's show ourselves that, if you continue to show up and put an effort and not get so attached to like, oh, it didn't work this time. Oh, it wasn't this time. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy to get caught up in that, especially, excuse me, if you are someone that has that 3 in your profile. Like, you can't get attached to the failures. You just have to see it as, I'm getting more life experience. So that's step 4. And then step 5 is the best. What is the anticipated outcome? Okay, the anticipated outcome here is that I meet my soulmate. I meet my partner in life. I meet the man of my dreams. I meet the person that I get to co-create my physical reality with. And that is like the ideal outcome. So that is my 5-step unblocking process. Personally, I did it on a few different subjects last night, and it just really inspired me. And by the end of each one, after I was journaling, I was like, oh my God, this actually feels, one, way less scary. This feels like I can let this thing go. This feels like maybe it's not as big of a fear anymore because I've been able to name it and claim it and admit it. But also, it's not just focusing on what that fear is. It's, okay, let's walk ourselves through the process of, this is a fear. What is the opposite? Which also I think is a very helpful practice, and you don't need to do a whole journaling exercise about it, but like naming the fear, and then what's the opposite of that? Like, I think that's the easiest way to start this type of exercise or practice, starting there, because it's super easy to do. But it was so cool to put myself through a very simple, a very linear, step-by-step system of like, okay, we're starting from the beginning. We don't have this thing, but by the end we have it. Like, that's it. Like, you don't have it, but now you have it. And it got me, one, really excited to do some more of this, to do some more unblocking in certain areas of my life, because something clicked within me that got me really intrinsically motivated. And it just was very clear of like, I can do this. I can do this. Sometimes I know for myself, I can get really caught up in like, it feels like a lot. It feels overwhelming, which I recognize that. Okay. And, some of us get easily overwhelmed and maybe a little more overwhelmed than others. And I know as I've gotten older, I've been able to see that actually as a gift. My sensitivity, the fact that I'm super empathic, the fact that I give a lot of my energy to other people. So naturally I can take in a lot of people's energy. So not seeing that as a downfall, not seeing that as something negative, but seeing that as something that like, okay, I just need to acknowledge this, but that's not going to hold me back. And that doesn't mean that I can't let go of something in order for me to have something better come into my life. So that is my process of unblocking. I would love to work with you this year if you are interested in release, because we will be definitely doing a lot more work like this, because it just is so powerful and like the work works, which I forget myself sometimes when I don't want to do things. I'm like, but the work works. And like, that's proof enough for me. Like, maybe I haven't had success in every single aspect of my life. Like, who has? Let's be for real. But I've seen a lot of success in certain aspects of my life. So how can I carry that element, that energy into these other aspects of my life that I really, one, want to change, but know that I'm capable of changing, because I have the proof and I have the evidence literally in my back pocket and I can bring it up at any time. But practices and exercises like this are so important because we just forget. We forget all of the time. And that's why it's so important to have someone in your corner to help you through this. So with that being said, that is the end of today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please look at all the links that I'm sharing in the show notes. Everything will be linked down below. And of course, my Instagram, my website, if you are interested in working with me. I would love to be able to have that space and that opportunity. And yeah, I hope that you have such an amazing rest of your week. I hope that you are having, just a really beautiful time and space with yourself right now, especially before we go into the holiday season, which is always like so magical and so great and so fun, but can also be a lot for a lot of people. It can bring up a lot of emotions. So I hope that what was shared today will help you along your journey in your life. And stay tuned for the next episode. There will probably be one up next week, another episode. So stay tuned for that. But I love you so much. Thank you for supporting me on my journey. Thank you for being here. I am able to show up and give all of me to you guys because of your love and support, truly. And I think I don't mention that enough. Like, your support really gets me going, because it's just a lot on someone to keep going when, in the physical external reality, maybe things aren't happening as quickly as you want them to. So with that being said, I so deeply appreciate all of your support on all of my platforms for me, for my work, and for what I have to share. So thank you for being here. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. Have the best day.